And so this brings us naturally to the WNBA, which we have talked about on this show as a piece of this larger deal. We had talked about whether it would be broken out onto its own thing, speaking of good press and good press releases. And now it seems that the WNBA will live inside of what the NBA has negotiated with the aforementioned partners. And that tells you what? You're both staring at each other.
Oh, I didn't know if you wanted John to start.
No, you start.
I'm happy to. It tells you that the WNBA is not yet ready to stand on its own. Because if they were, they'd negotiate separately. The NBA would allow for them to negotiate separately. But they don't, because what they're going to do, it will be a press release. I can't wait for it to come out. In the old deal, the WNBA was allocated $60 million per year of what the NBA received from the networks. Now that number is going to go up, but it's a made-up number, literally made up. So the WNBA will get to announce, hey, our rights fees doubled. Our rights fees went up by more than double, from 60 to 120 or 60. I don't think it'll go higher than 120, but let's just pretend it does.
I don't think it's a meaningless number because the league does have to answer to its owners. It has to have some sort of rationalization or justification for why they're going to announce what the new deal is. I don't think they picked it out of the air. I think personally, I believe, and this gets us right back to PR and ratings and heat.
Right.
The league is very hot right now.
The WNBA.
Right? Yeah, the WNBA is very hot.
Yes.
I think, Pablo, you and I were both at the Liberty game with the Indiana Fury. And
Fever, yes.
Fever, and it was sold out to the last seat in the top, and people were going crazy. That's a good indicator that it's more valuable because the team valuations will go up. They need to get enough capital there to make sure those valuations do go up because they can raise player salaries and do other things. I think it will be closer to 200 than 120, and I do not
for PR or for real value.
Real value. If you're doing a 10-year deal, I think it's a bargain to get the WNBA for those prices if you're one of the networks that gets them.
I think you should put together some money and buy a WNBA team.
No, I wasn't talking about buying a team. I'm talking about
that's what do you mean? You're bullish on the league to the point that
I'm quite bullish on the league.
Why wouldn't you buy a team then?
Because the prices have already risen well beyond my economic means.
Well, let's talk about.
You could get some private equity.
Well, hold on. Before we segue to that, David.
Sorry, I couldn't resist.
The valuation of a WNBA team. I actually want to ask how the rights deal impacts this. If we're talking about manufacturing a number for vibes, and we're talking about then what you pay to get it, do those numbers intersect?
When you do discovery, which means you're doing your diligence to buy a team, you look at all the different revenue and expenses of the team you're buying. It will show when let's say the Indiana Fever go up for sale, and you will show what their gate revenue is. You'll show what their broadcast revenue is. And their broadcast revenue is 1/12 of 60 million or 1/12 of now 120 or 200 million. But then you examine what happens when there's expansion, because the WNBA wants to expand. Then you're getting 1/15 of that $200 million. So that money coming to you decreases. So you do all that calculation when you are going to a bank to borrow money to buy a team. Because when you go to a bank to borrow money to buy a team, you have to show the bank that the company you're buying will generate money to pay the bank back. And revenue from broadcasting is used as a huge source to pay banks back, which will help increase the valuation of teams. But if it's BS and at the end of the next deal, the WNBA is put out on its own and all of a sudden they go from 200 to 50, then you have a real problem. That's my only concern.
Yeah. By the way, I think, and I haven't ever seen the exact financial calculations, but the new franchises must pay a fee to the teams that are already in the league, and that is generally intended to cover the differential between, more teams are now participating in the rights fees, but the team
it's supposed to be more. It's an expansion fee.
Yeah,
yes, your expansion fee is always based on what your national revenue distributions are plus a delta.
Yeah, so I was just suggesting that covers the going from 1/12 to 1/15. They're not losing revenue for new teams coming in, and if they were, they would not approve for new teams to come in generally.
But the fight that happens is when the buyer and the seller of a team, in this instance, fight over who's getting who gets the money.
Right.
Who gets expansion fee money? Is it the new owner or the old owners in a purchase, et cetera? So I just wanted to make the point that I love that the WNBA is getting all this attention. I really do. I love that you went to a game and you went to a game. But what does it really mean for the league? To me, nothing has been financially proven that anything is better.
Again, I think that the economics of the league, just like other leagues, will ultimately be based on the valuations going up. And while I do not have the means, if you'd like to help me out here a little bit, David.
Yeah, I'm down, David.
I'd be down philosophically if you're down financially.
You
I can bring you the word plebiscite.
You and I
What is
can
that
go
word?
raise the money. If you believe in the WNBA as a business, we should be able, between who we know, to go raise money to buy a team.
I will put added context here. Clara Wu Tsai, the owner of the New York Liberty and the Brooklyn Nets, said earlier this month at a business conference that her goal for the New York Liberty within 10 years is to make it worth $1 billion. The first women's sports franchise to be $1 billion asset. And so David is suggesting that there's a show me dynamic here that the sport has fallen short on.
We're just hearing the same thing with rugby and cricket and all sorts of other sports. And the WNBA is a sport that has not proven to be able to deliver asset
because
valuation
they haven't
increases.
been able to by strategic design, it sounds like.
Well, in fact, the valuations are going up, and the team valuations are going up, and the NWSL does have a team valued at $1 billion. So making the bet that one WNBA team will get a valuation of $1 billion, I'd definitely take that bet. I'm sure you would be happy to do so, and we'll have some kind of reasonable wager, not just you have to buy a team. If I win, you have to buy a team. If you win,
the
I
tape is
have to
going
buy
to
a
be so
team.
dirty on
Are
David's
you
side
going
of
to
the
be
table
sitting
if
here
he
10
loses.
years from now to collect?
I'll be sitting somewhere. I don't think you'll wait 10 years. I mean, these things tend to happen slower than you ever think they will happen until they pivot, and it happens faster than you ever thought. And the WNBA, which I believe was 25 years old last year, is 26 or 27, has struggled to get the valuations up. I think they're going to be on a trajectory because there's a lot of money looking to invest in sports right now.
I just think it's unrealistic what we've done to Caitlin Clark, so it's a different story, but it just makes me crazy that she's being counted on to single-handedly salvage the WNBA.
But it's the trend line beyond Caitlin Clark, too. We're now going to get into conversation around ratings being goosed across all of sports and in-home, out-of-home viewing, but
I would think of her as a catalyst, not as the sole reason, right? I mean, you know how it is, out in the wilderness when you're trying to finally get that fire started, and for some reason it starts. You probably know how to start a fire. I don't. I keep putting paper on it, more matches, maybe a little gasoline, and it finally takes off. It's going to take off. I mean, and Caitlin, provided that spark. It doesn't mean her spark was bigger. I think there was a team named.
Yes, there is.
There's
the
a
Sparks.
Sparks, the LA Sparks. So Candace Parker also provided one of the sparks to make this league happen, and it's finally happening. And so it is wrong. I agree with you, David, to put the burden on her that it's not right that she is the catalyst. It doesn't matter. It's the proverbial, I guess, straw that breaks the camel's back. And this is going to break the back of the non-valuation. They're going to go up.